Hello, survivors. I'm Joe Swarner. I'm your customer advocate, and I'm also your host today for the State of Decay 2 stream. Today we're going to be talking about the Outpost and Plague Territory upgrades and what this means for you and your community, and the tactics that you're going to need to tackle a new map. We're going to be. I've already taken the liberty of setting up a community, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But without further ado, let me introduce our co-host and question funneler for today, a guy who needs no introduction, but we love him, so we'd give him one anyway, Mr. Geoffrey Card.
Oh, hi. Yes. So I'm here to read the chat. Our moderators are going to be bubbling up questions to us. So if you've got questions about what's going on in the public text realm, any of the stuff that Joe is talking through on the strategy side, or just if you have general good questions about State of Decay 2, we'll try to get to as many of them as we can.
All right. And so I guess it's time for us to get to the stream proper. And let's get into this community that I've started. Not that one. This one, the custom zone. So I put it on lethal map, lethal community, and nightmare action just because I didn't want anything untoward happening to me during the stream while we're talking about strategy. I went out and I grabbed a few things and have linked up a few bounties here. But now that we are in the game, we've got a few bounties from Cache Beaumont. So without having to say too much, obviously there's a new bounty pack that's out. It's the return of the anniversary pack, and so it's time for everybody to kind of go out and, get your Trumbull 4x4.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I had basically blasted through all of the bounties in my game at home, and I had nothing left there. And the bounties are actually kind of one of my favorite parts, running around and earning those, so I'm excited to have a new pack.
All right, so Screamers killed with heavy weapons, Freaks killed with vehicles, and Plague Hearts killed with assault weapons. All right, so I need a different survivor. And I'm trying to remember. I think it was Letitia. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Yeah, there she is. She's got the Prepper's AK that I found out there. So a few notes about this community. One, I left the starter arc open, so this is a fresh community, fresh survivors on a fresh Meager Valley map. But I also took the liberty of, when prepping for the stream, of looting all of these sites so that I had more than enough materials to get through this, because pretty much everything is more expensive on lethal, and the current base looks like this. We are upgrading our command center to level 2. And the infirmary's at level 2 already, and I built myself a workshop just because I like them. All right, so what do we got to do? Well, one, we are ready to do our bounties here with the Drive Shaft Club, and we've got the Prepper's AK all ready to go. So what's next, though? So if we go back to our base and we look over at our resources, you'll see that meds and food are clearly what's going to be costing us a lot here. Probably one of the best things about this update is that I can get those 2 meds from one outpost. And I was going to show you guys today by targeting one of my favorite reasons to come to Meager Valley, by targeting this particular outpost here, the military trauma tent. This is the one that I want to claim. You'll notice it only has 1 heart that's actually threatening it, which means we only have to kill 1 heart, and I'm pretty sure it's that one over at the old corral. So, all right. There were a couple of questions that were asked before we started the stream.
Do you want me to get started on those?
Yes, please.
Okay, so you'll notice that Joe is starting with a brand new community in the public test realm after these new features have dropped. But we had a question from Hooligan Fish about what happens when you've got an ongoing community and whatever update delivers these public test realm features to you, to the audience at large. What happens to your ongoing communities? Basically. The new features that we've put in the public test realm, which includes the plague territory, the fact that each plague heart extends this territory where they've claimed these sites and you can't have them until you defeat the Plague Heart, and the Outpost upgrade, which includes, the new landmark outposts, the upgradability of the resource outposts, the fact that you can learn skills at these outposts. Both of those features will not immediately land on your current communities. Instead, you'll just be playing in the same map you've always been playing in. Now, if there are other features that are dropping with this update, people have been theorizing about a few others that we might be working on in the background. Those will probably just land immediately with any new community, with any ongoing community that you already have. And other small fixes, things like that, tweaks, all of that stuff you're just going to get immediately. But these two features, because they really change the landscape that you're in, we wait to give you those features until you've moved maps or started a fresh community. So don't expect either of these features to suddenly land and impact the current community that you have. You get to decide when each community experiences these things by deciding to move maps or change map difficulty. That was kind of a long-winded explanation, but I'm pretty sure that all the details are in there. See here. Okay. So, yeah.
And the other one that you wanted to address?
Oh, there was. So Ivan Fernandez asked, is there a limit on how much a player can use an outpost to teach a skill? Currently, no. Basically, the only, well, I guess the limit is how much influence you can afford to spend. I believe it's influence, right? That we're charging for the skill buffs.
Yes.
So basically, you can spam that thing until you run out of influence. Now, one piece of feedback we have been getting from players in the beta, in the public test realm, is that a lot of the costs might be a little bit low. Some players are finding them, the cost of upgrading the outpost, the cost for getting those skills might be a little bit low, to the point where some players are finding them a little bit too easy to get and maybe a little unbalanced. And so we might be taking a look at the current costs and seeing if maybe some of these things need to be more expensive, maybe make you spend a little bit more time, surviving with less, until you've earned enough of the resources that you need in order to take advantage of them. So I could see that changing between now and when this goes fully live to the general audience. So Roke has a question, is wondering if that means that books are useless now. And so really a lot of that kind of depends on what you want. Like if you want to spend your influence, your valuable influence on one of these outposts that gives you these books, that gives you these training options, then that's what you can spend it on. However, if you find those books for free out in the loot, then that means you don't have to claim an outpost to do it. You've just got the book for free. There are also a ton of skill books out there that are not reflected in the outposts. All of the really kind of rare ones, like lichenology and fishing and stuff like that, those skills, you will not find them on any outpost. So those books definitely still have a ton of value, regardless of whether or not you've claimed an outpost that teaches a skill.
And also, Geoffrey, I do appear to be having some encoding issues.
Okay.
I had these sorted out, but anyway, apologies.
I'm not even sure what that means, so it's no skin off my nose. Mandy Sinclair had a question about labor. She was wondering, like how labor is supposed to work and why we don't maybe lean a little bit harder into it. So labor is one of those interesting things where it's kind of abstracted, right? Like she's pointing out the fact that early on in the game she might be running around with 2 characters and only have 1 character back at base, but she still has 3 labor theoretically. And so I think that kind of leans into the fact that we're not trying to pretend that you're actually playing through every minute of your survivors' lives. You're running around in a world where a night and a day only takes like 90 minutes. You're not seeing a full 24-hour day. You're seeing the cool parts. And so you're seeing people going out, getting in trouble, finding important things, but you're not watching your characters go to the bathroom. You're not sitting there and watching them sleep a lot of the time. And so what we're sort of simulating is the idea that you're playing through the adventurous part of the game, but these characters have a bunch of free time we're not seeing. And that's where they're spending their labor, doing things like upgrading the base. So, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely probably more we could do with labor. That's one of the reasons why we incorporated labor into some of the landmark outposts, is because we realized that it's an underused resource. The idea of having something occupy labor for a long period of time, rather than just for the short period where you're doing something like building a new facility or upgrading a facility. The idea that you could invest labor long-term so that because you've got a lot of people, you can do a lot of interesting things at once. That's more the way we were imagining that feature when we first conceived it, before we sort of ended up in the form that the final game took. And so I like the fact that we're sort of leaning harder into it and finding opportunities to use it.
Well, and as we find ways to like lean into the different, there were a lot of things that were unused, including labor. But as we start leaning into, I need 325 influence. Oh no!
Oh no, we're gonna get it.
Oh no! I'm at 318. I need 7 influence. Okay, so we're gonna go for overkill, and we're gonna go turn in this. We're gonna go turn in this mission. So now that we've killed that plague heart, we're going to go ahead and hop on over here to finish this mission. We're going to take 2. We could probably pick it up along the way if we really wanted to clear out like that infestation over there, but I don't know if I have any fire. So we're going to run over here and we're going to do overkill by finishing this, what we call a second starter, or basically sort of the starter arc for when you start with a without doing the tutorial. All right, there you go. There you go, Nate. Take your stuff. All right, they gave us a sack of cooking oil. We've got 500 influence, and so now we can run back home. Do I have the right survivor? I still have the right survivor. Okay, so we actually do not want to go back home, and that's an important part of this as well. Okay, so we don't want to actually go back home because this character is actually the one that I wanted. Apparently, past me was looking out for today me and made sure that I had the right survivor with all the right weapons. So we're gonna come over here. Now it shouldn't take very long because we should have enough back from home. There we go. So this will take 1 minute, cost us 325 influence and 5 materials, which we do have, and then we'll just wait for that. And then once we're done with that, as we're here, we'll be able to learn medicine because another action will pop up here. So we've got about another 50 seconds. Let's see if I've
Should I take another question?
Any fire. Go ahead.
Let's see here. So Akina Shark wants to know, with the new plague territory, will you no longer have to go anywhere to find out where the hearts are? No, right now the way that it works is on the lower difficulty levels. You definitely, we reveal all of the plague hearts up front, just like we have for ever since the Juggernaut edition released. But on the higher difficulty levels, I believe on the higher difficulty map levels, and you can confirm for me, Joe, if this is right, you still start the game without all the hearts revealed. But it's when you enter a plague zone or enter a plague territory that you'll see that's what's going to reveal the heart that plague territory is coming from. Yeah, like right here, you can see on the screen.
That is correct. Yeah, so here there are no hearts revealed, right? I can see based on this outpost that it's threatened by 2 hearts, but I can't see them, right? Basically what happens is, especially if you're on lethal, it becomes sort of like the old Minesweeper game, like, all right, so there's 5 hearts surrounding that one, there's 4 hearts surrounding that one, which building do I have to get to? But at the same time, you just kind of head in the same general direction, and the only 2 buildings that are really within reach of this outpost are here and here, that I know could have hearts in them. So like as soon as we drive over to that outpost, it's going to show exactly what we want. So anyway, let's go to open the outpost. All right, so 275 to learn basic medicine, but I don't think I have any more. Yeah, I don't have enough influence to just pump it up. So I either need to go farm influence or we need to go do something else. And I think what we'll do is we'll go over here to show what I was just talking about. We have gas and a repair kit in the trunk, so I'm not too worried. All right. So as we head up here, all right, so we've got Command Center 2 upgraded. We're almost ready to go. We're going to hop over here. Hey, look, that's a free. Ow. That's 1 out of 7 for our vehicles.
Nice.
I guess I probably should have taken that one down with heavy weapons, but it won't make much of a difference. So we come over here, and then as soon as we stepped in, like you could see, like as soon as we stepped into the zones, the 2 hearts show up here. which that's even based on lethal. If you know what you're doing in terms of like mastery of how the map works, you could have guessed that those two hearts were there anyway. But this makes it easier without worrying too much about where you need to go or what you need to do. All right, where are we at? We are.
Well, we do have a couple more questions here that we could take.
Okay, go ahead.
Default Switched wants to know, did you do any more work on the sounds? It sounds better. Is it just me? No, our audio team has been working on a lot of the sounds in the game and making changes here and there. So I would not be surprised if whatever you're noticing is an improvement is genuinely an improvement that was made to the game. Beaky58 wants to know, is there any chance that these new features are going to be optional because they like the game the way it is? We have been thinking, like we pointed out, these features don't kick in for an existing community unless you move maps, and so there's at least a certain amount of grandfathering that is definitely going to happen for your old communities. And we've been looking into, because of hearing reactions like that from a small subset of our players who are really interested in maintaining the way things used to be. We're considering options along those lines. Nothing that we can promise right now because we got to figure out what works. But we have heard that feedback, and it's interesting because it is a very small group of people compared to the number of people who are just excited by the new features and just want to play in them all the time. But we have heard your voices, and we do want to make sure that we're not just sort of like making the game harder for you to enjoy. And so we're thinking through possibilities there. I can't promise anything specific, but we are paying attention to that. Masquerade 30 wants to know, so do survey points still reveal the area around you if it's in plague territory? Yeah, they still function perfectly well. You don't have to, it's claiming a site that plague territory stops you from doing. Using a site, looting it, doing any of the normal stuff you can do with it just in person, and that includes surveying from a survey point. All of that stuff still works. So you can still climb up to a bright red cell tower and still use it as a survey point to find out what's around it. Roland Ossium asks, can I turn my beta community into my normal one once the beta ends?
I'd like to
take that.
So most a lot of what I do is listen to what bugs people are presented, and one of the difficult things that can happen. Did all of those zombies just die? Oh, right.
Yeah, you're in nightmare combat now, not lethal.
Oh, now I feel bad. All those zombies just died. They didn't need to. But anyway, the idea is that, like, if we do end up in the public test realm or in a beta program, and we do something that does end up messing over your save file, we don't want there to be any possibility that it would carry back over into the community that you want to keep as bug free as we can get, but you want to keep from being horribly awful. And so what we did was we made it so that you can transfer saves into the beta one time, but you can never transfer those saves out, mostly in case something really terrible happens in the public test room. And you'll still be able at some point, hopefully, should something terrible happen to that save, you'll still be able to transfer things in, but hopefully any bugs that are introduced or any problems that arise stay there, right?
Yeah, and one assumption that it sounds like Roland Ossium is making is that at some point that this public test realm is going to end. And I think that's not necessarily an assumption you should make. Obviously, while all things end eventually, with the heat death of the universe, we actually are not planning on just running this public test realm temporarily and then removing it. We're planning on, as the features that are in the public test realm now move into the live game, we're planning to bring more features into the public test realm. We're going to keep using this tool. That's our plan. And so this ongoing community that you've been playing in the public test realm, there's going to be more new features for them to try out in the future. It's not just going to come to an end and close down. The Dutch Savage wants to know how many missions the game has. I don't think we could count them very easily. It kind of depends on what you count as a mission, really.
Yeah, there's a lot. You can say that.
Yeah, there's a lot of a lot of the mission arcs that you see in the game actually have multiple branches to them, and optional situations where, depending on your choices or which missions you succeed at or fail at, different things can happen. It's entirely possible for you to have played through the same mission arc multiple times and still not really seen all the variants and possibilities in it. So, depending on how you count, like, you could count the number of missions in the game a lot of different ways. So it would be hard to give you a number. I'd love to get more though. So I know that there's, for people who've been playing the game for a long time, they've seen the same missions many, many times. It would be really cool if if we found the opportunity to add more someday. So we'll see. We'll have to see how that goes.
All right, so we will finish up this mission. They want more plague samples. We'll go ahead and give them more plague samples. Ooh, a morale bonus. That's actually really helpful at the beginning, especially considering we're on lethal for community and map. All right. And then I forgot that I was trying to kill that last plague heart with assault weapons, so I still got to go kill another plague heart with an assault weapon. One thing that I did want to point out, though, you only have to get the killing blow with the assault weapon, so even in lethal, you don't have to spend that much ammo. You do have to spend some, clearly, but it doesn't have to be like the entire heart.
Okay, we do have a little bit more, a few more questions. Enigmal asks, doesn't Plague Territory, by means of requiring you to clear Plague Hearts early, effectively shorten an ordinary campaign? After all, once Plague Hearts are gone, you only have the class story left. So it's hard to say that. So depending on how you've been playing the campaign, it might or might not really make much of a difference. If you, for instance, play in such a way where you clear out the Plague Hearts fairly quickly, just by your own habits, your own strategy, this wouldn't change anything at all. You have actually with the campaign, you have a lot of control over how fast it goes, kind of regardless of what we do. There's some video game campaigns out there where the only thing you can do is pursue the campaign. And so if the campaign is short, your experience is short. If the campaign's long, your experience is long. In our game, though, the campaign is only one thing going on a big, complicated map full of things for, self-directed goals for you to make for yourself. So if you've been in the habit so far of making a bunch of other goals for yourself and not really paying that much attention to the campaign, or taking it really slow, doing a lot of preparation before tackling the campaign, there's no reason why Plague Territory would need to change that. You might be motivated to take out some of the Plague Hearts a little faster than others, particularly if they're on top of outposts that you really want to claim. But I can't imagine that you would need necessarily to clean out every single Plague Heart on the map just in order to satisfy your regular outpost needs. If you've normally been ignoring Plague Hearts, you won't be able to ignore them as much, but you can ignore some of them. Like if you're sitting there in Cascade Hills and there's a Plague Heart over at the Beautiful Corner Ranch, you can ignore that Plague Heart for a really, really long time without it really impacting your strategy all that much. So I would say that that you should expect that if your habit is to delay clearing the Plague Hearts, that habit is still going to be in effect with the new feature. So I wouldn't anticipate that being a huge problem, but definitely, if you find that that's the case, if you find that with the fact that Plague Hearts are actually sort of hiding parts of the map from you, if you find yourself motivated to clear them out and you actually are enjoying it less, that is definitely feedback we'll want to see in the survey. My hope, though, is that this is gonna it'll make fighting them more interesting. It'll make fighting them more valuable. I don't think it'll necessarily, for most players, make fighting them happen faster in a way that that messes up something else. For one thing, you can ignore those leader missions as long as you want. Even after you clear out all the Plague Hearts and your leader is saying, "Hey, I've got some missions to go on," you can be like, "Okay, well, I'll get to you later then," and just ignore them, and nothing bad is going to happen because of that.
Yeah, and one of the things that is pointed out, Nightmaker pointed out in chat and for Twitch, is that you can fairly easily just switch maps and keep playing, right? Like once you've cleared the Plague Hearts of a particular map, unless you are somehow like particularly attached to the enclaves that are on that map, you can just go into your command center and you can research new territories, and then you can move on to a different map, and you can play around with the difficulty settings and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, a lot of the structure of the game. a lot of the structure of the game is built around the idea that we know that some players are going to want to make the game last longer. That's why we let you move maps. That's why we don't make you finish a campaign on one map, but let you move as many times as you want to. Because...
Let go.
Yikes. Because we know that's important to a lot of players. MRD Gaming wants to know how much of the beta came from the minds of the developers and how much came from the wish list. It's always hard to really say one way or the other because, you know, we are constantly thinking about what we want to do with this game, and you all are constantly talking to us about it. And we hear a lot of what you say, but we're also talking to each other constantly. We know that you know, asking for an upgrade to Outposts, you know, specifically, you know, letting you upgrade them, giving you more access to 5th skills, which is one of the main features that we've got with these Outposts. Those are all things that players have been asking for, but they were also things that we were recognizing internally. And so I think that a lot of the time, those are actually some of the best things to go after, things that we know that we want internally, and we've seen that the audience has prioritized it by, you know, upvoting it on our wish list. Those are some of the best things to work on because it means that we'll be, you know, we'll feel creatively satisfied. We'll get excited about it. We'll do our best work. And at the same time, you'll all be excited about it too because it came from you. So yeah, so it's really hard. It's a mix of both. It's always a mix of both.
B4D bot asks, how is my car not exploding? This is actually a leftover from SOD 1. If you drive backwards, and it will never hit your engine.
Yeah, so there's actually
as long as the engine doesn't blow, you're okay.
Yeah, there's two kinds of damage you can do to a car: body damage and engine damage. It's engine damage that leads the car to explode, and that is mostly from getting hit on the front of the car.
Okay, so running over a juggernaut to kill it apparently does not count as killing a freak with a vehicle.
I think they might. I don't even know if they might have even just not even bothered to include a juggernaut on that list because they thought no one could do it. I don't know. I'll have to look at that data now. I'll make a note here.
Anyway, I didn't mean to show everybody that. Yes, I did.
Fulfilling. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We'll have to look into that. That was a little nuts.
I completely forgot where I was going. All right, so C-Cash. We're gonna go C-Cash Beaumont.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that I wanted to talk about is one, we're talking about the anniversary package return, and one of the great ways to help a new community out, especially at the beginning of a month when we've brought like new communities, new bounties to bear for everybody, is to complete some bounties because they'll get you some new weapons. And in this pack, there's some really cool ones. The one that I'm about to get is the AKS-74U Valentine, and the Industrial Wrench, otherwise known as the BAW. All right, so let's complete these two. What else we got? We still gotta kill. Oh, right, I did find another Screamer. And then we've got the Trumbull 4x4. So we're gonna find it here eventually. Cash didn't give me my gun. He gave me the gun. He didn't give me the. Oh no, he didn't give me anything.
Oh, you got not enough space in your inventory?
Yeah.
Who needs energy drinks, right?
Well, I just put them in the car trunk. All right. So, have the graphics been improved in the beta? They have, and you've got lots of particle effects now.
Yeah, a lot of the changes are subtle and tied in specifically with the plague hearts and stuff like that. With those sort of effects, the little red fog effects that come up. There's a bunch of new stuff having to do with those. We are constantly making ongoing changes and improvements to the maps. I don't know if any of the strongest ones are going to necessarily show up in the public test realm or in the beta right now, but there is definitely ongoing work being done in that regard. So at some point, whether it's sooner or later, you will see continued improvements in the graphics and in the building of our world.
Oh, and we've got zombie trees at home. I mean zombie threats. Sorry.
So, by the way, we're really sorry about the sort of the choppy frame rate that a lot of you are seeing on Twitch and YouTube. We're not actually sure what to do about it. Right in the middle of the stream, there may be very little that we can do. So we're sorry about that. Hopefully,
I might be able to do something by dropping the settings here, but I don't know.
Yeah, we can give it a try. But in the meantime, if it's really bothering you to watch us, you can also, we'll keep answering questions and you can listen to it like a podcast. Hopefully that'll be okay. So Pen Name wanted a reminder, says, for those who found out about plague hearts by driving by them, this changes nothing, right? I think that the only difference is, because we want you to be able to see plague territory when you drive into plague territory. So we do reveal the plague territory and the source plague heart whenever you drive into the territory. I think that means you're detecting plague hearts at a slightly longer distance than you used to. But I think that's the only difference. And so you still have to drive around to find them. I think that the detection range is longer because it's bound to the plague territory radius and not to the detection radius of the site that the plague heart is in.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was joking with Fall Down. He was talking about how when he first saw what was coming with the beta, he's like, "You guys want to just slow me down and ruin my runs?" And I'm like, "Buddy, this is gonna make it so much faster. Just trust me." And he eventually did, I suppose.
All right, so one of the tips that you're giving people, obviously, is the bounties. When we release new bounties, that's actually a great time to start a new community because it gives you advanced access to a lot of these sort of advanced items. And I think you've also shown everybody that that like one of the better outposts to claim is one of those military medical tents, because first off, there's a lot of really valuable equipment there, and they're a medical place where you can train up a doctor. You can get not just one med per day, but level it up to 2 or 3 meds a day. What other strategic implications does
So what this does in the short term is it allows you to get established faster. What it allows in the long term is this thing right here. So when you're looking at the different outposts, right? Maybe because I can upgrade a meds outpost, I don't have to worry as much about whether or not I've got a survivor who's got Lycanology. Lycanology provides you with knowledge of agriculture, knowledge of herbalism, and plus 2 meds per day. For those of you who don't know, it's one of the best quirk skills in the game. But these outpost upgrades make that less necessary. And a lot of people, even if they don't have somebody with Lycanology, what they'll do is they will go and build like a garden or a hydroponics, and that's going to be less necessary too. All right, 6 out of 7 freaks. Right, I heard you. Where are you?
While you're looking for a freak, Slutty Little Ninja wants to know, are there going to be any new achievements with the next update that comes? We don't have anything to announce right now. Certainly, basically, which new achievements we might come up with when kind of depends on which set of features we package in what particular update, because obviously we don't want to accidentally, release an achievement for a feature that you don't have yet. So we can't announce that yet because we haven't really circled in yet on exactly when these features are landing and what other features they might be packaged with. So stay tuned, I guess, for more information on that in the future.
Oh no!
Well, you used up that car to get that get that bounty.
There's a plague loader in my base.
Ah!
Oh well.
Take care of that guy.
Well, there goes our threat. There goes our threat to home. All done.
Nice.
So anyway, now that we've got that bounty done, let's refill the gas. Now remember that this is still like lethal map and lethal community, so it's still just as hard to manage, and also the resources are going to be harder to find, and so it becomes more imperative that you have outposts like this one that you can upgrade. You'll notice it says Meds Outpost 2 there. That's a little upgrade that we've made since the last time we were able to stream this. Let's see, not sure if I really want to do Sheriff Meets Neighbors, but we do want to go get that. We do want to go get that vehicle. So we can go visit Cash really quick.
This is one of the things that's really special about the anniversary packets. It's one of our few bounty packs that actually contains a vehicle. So
I think the greatest thing right now. So early game. Now, the reason I brought up the fact that this is a no boons community is that I wanted to show off like what this could actually mean for the rest of the game. And so like I could have come in here with like a warlord boon or a trader boon and still done roughly the same thing, but I wanted to show you guys some fresh survivors and show you that it's not just about whether or not you make them live long enough to get strong. But one of the things that this does do is this helps you think about, and this is so it's different on every map. It helps you think about different ways to construct a new community, right? You don't just always have to have. All right, so there it is. It's back by our base. We'll go get it. We'll drive around that in that for a bit. But you don't just have to always go by the tried and true methods that have existed before. It's certainly going to change things up in how you interact with different maps.
Yeah. I think one of our expectations is like we're probably going to see people building a lot less hydroponics, for instance,
Right.
because they won't feel like that's just our only way to get enough food. There's so many ways, so many places you can get a lot of food now. We're actually kind of hoping that people are going to try out facilities that they often don't build at all because they felt like they were required to build other ones.
In fact, I've got enough influence, so I might as well do this now. We're gonna go claim the wind farm.
Oh, and by the way, for anybody who's joining us late and wondering why the game looks a little worse than usual, it's because Joe tuned down a bunch of the graphic settings to try to deal with a frame rate issue that we were dealing with before. So I think the frame rate did get significantly better, though not perfect. But that does come at a cost. So sorry if anybody's coming in being like, hey, why does it look like this?
Well, and it might still be. I didn't double check my encoding. It might be that it's still trying to encode through the hardware, which would mean that my little 1660 is working its little heart out. So
okay,
let's stop by. Let's stop by here. Stop by here, and we'll go boop, and we'll go ahead and claim this. And we go to our outpost options, and this gives us different strategies. We could spend parts, which I don't like spending parts, especially not in lethal. I can spend labor, which it's a little too early in the community. Later on, this is certainly the way that I'm going to be paying for my power. But here, I can just spend influence per day, which means that here in about 4 minutes, I'm going to have base-wide power at only the cost of 1,000 influence in comparison to others. Others that are still like twice that price and just not quite as useful. All right, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Warbucks2 wants to know, what's the max food from an outpost with the upgrades? So each of the upgradable outposts can give you 1, 2, or 3 of whatever resource they offer. And that's the same across all of the different resources. So the max food is 3, the max meds is 3, the max ammo is 3, etc., etc.
Big asterisk on the food, though.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Go ahead and fill that. Fill that info in.
I think on Nightmare, it goes up to. You can get up to 4.5. I think is the number for Nightmare, and on Lethal, each one can be upgraded to give you +6.
That's true. I forgot about that because food is a special case. Yeah, that's right.
Each food outpost will essentially be able to pay for 3 survivors, eating, the regular 2 food a day.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because the food consumption goes up with difficulty. The food the food benefit also goes up at the same time. So Victor Vandershee is pretty insistent about wanting us to answer this question. Is it programmed so that the Ants Prepper Plans mission line comes up more often than the others? In my games, it appears always in the first 2 hours of a new community. So all of the sort of the personal mission arcs are technically weighted about the same. but they each have different requirements. Some of them, they just sort of drop in and they just sort of manufacture everything that they need, and it's very easy for them to spawn. And the Ants Prepper Plan is one of those. Drug stashes, I think, is another one that seems to come up a lot. There's a handful of those that are really easy. There are some missions that have specific requirements, like, for instance, the one about getting the band back together. That one, that actually requires you to have people with certain skills, I believe. And then there's the one about finding a record player. I think that one actually requires specific sites to be on your map, so it like never spawns on certain maps. And so there's sort of just little details that, even though we're not consciously, very specifically saying this one happens more often than another one, because of the details of how those missions are constructed, some of them do spawn a lot more than others. Oh, so Masquerade 30 wants to clarify something. They say, in order to activate these new features, I have to reset my map, right? Or can we just change difficulty with the sliders and activate them that way, so I can keep my enclaves on the map and my base? So the only way that you can activate these new features is to change the map in one of two ways. Either go to a completely brand new map, or change the map difficulty on your difficulty sliders. You can't make them happen by changing the combat difficulty or the community difficulty, because those don't do a full map refresh. And that's what it requires. It requires a full map refresh, so that you don't have any of your outposts, you don't have any of your past enclaves. All of that stuff has to go away to make room for these new features to arrive. So sorry about that. I realize that might not be the most convenient thing for everyone's community and the way they've got things set up, but it was kind of necessary for the way that these new outposts kind of come in and replace the old outposts. We really did need to sort of let you start over from scratch. And what is going on here?
Oh, I was dying.
Right, for a bit. Okay, I'm watching this with the same lag as everybody else in the audience, so I don't necessarily know what's happening at the very moment I'm talking.
Well, that's all right. I can leave the area. It's okay. We'll leave them alive for now. I came totally unprepared tonight.
So Tyler Corona asks, so if you start with the amenities boon, the builder boon, this landmark outpost on this map doesn't serve any purpose? Yeah, that's true. One of the things that builder boon does is obviate the need for external sources of power and water. But so one of the ways that we sort of were selecting these landmark outposts was not necessarily just thinking about what would be most valuable to an elder player who's already unlocked all of the rewards. We were actually, one of the big factors was trying to zero in on the places on the map that even a brand new player would immediately recognize as being valuable and special. And so, so you can see like why, we sort of chose some of the ones we did based on those criteria. And those huge wind farms they're one of the most memorable, landmarks here on Meager Valley. And so for a brand new player who's looking at this map and trying to figure out, well, what's a valuable place for me to go? What's a thing that should catch my eye? Those windmills really catch their eye. And so that's a huge part of the experience. Now, that doesn't mean, that's the only landmark outpost we're ever going to have. We have kept in mind, the idea that, landmark outposts are an experiment. We're trying them for the very first time. If they work, if people like them, there's every likelihood that we're going to find more excuses to drip more landmark outposts into the maps at some point. And so if there's other outposts you think would be more valuable in Meager Valley, let us know, because that could easily inform some of the decisions we make here in the future.
I've lost track of what time. All right. So speaking of where to make those suggestions, I'm still on the wish list.
Oh, that's right.
So that we can track sort of what it is that you want. The outposts in particular, they were one of the first things to appear on the wish list in its first form, even when it was on Discord. And I remember quite clearly that inspired others to, or maybe it just sort of happened at the same time, like you were kind of talking about, is that others that were inside the lab we're also sort of talking about, wouldn't it be great if we had more outposts and if we did these kinds of things to it? And while none of those plans are, exactly followed through, like the idea that changing outposts was a big thing, we understood that for players and we brought it in. So please keep, please keep the wish list in mind, because it does inspire a lot of confidence in us, and and we love being able to put things into the game that our players really want.
And so you can get there by going to support.stateofdecay.com. There's a wish list link there, and we'll put a link to that site in the doobly doo once we make this into a YouTube video later on. So we do keep getting questions in the chat asking, is there a way, if somebody in particular just does not like the Plague Territories feature for whatever reason, do they have a way out? Do they have a way to avoid it? And so we've already addressed that a little bit on the stream, but in case you're new, we have heard that feedback. It's not coming from everyone. Most players who've been playing in the survey have been giving us very positive feedback about these features and have been saying that they do want them in the game. But for those of you who, for whatever reason, you just find that they strike a discordant note with the way that you play, we have heard you, and we're looking into possibilities for letting you continue playing the way you want to play. So I can't make any promises specifically. It's a complicated thing for us to take on, because it sort of bifurcates the audience and has if some people are playing one way, some people are playing another way. That adds a certain amount of testing burden to everything we want to do with the game in the future. So we're looking for sort of the best, most efficient way to give players some room to breathe there if they're looking for a particular experience that maybe the Plague Territories won't necessarily offer. So stick with us. We'll definitely keep you updated on what we're doing, and just know that we have heard you. We have heard you say this, and we want to try to sort of do the best we can by all of the different segments of our audience.
All right. So the real question is, can I make it home on this little sliver of gas? I think the answer is yes. I'm betting no. We'll see who wins. You're gonna be wrong. But that's okay. That's okay. I need a Wichita ES. I do, but unfortunately, I haven't played this community long enough to get a mysterious wandering trader today. Something visited. Sorry about that. We made it. Look at that. We made it. And what is this? What is this? Cash Beaumont comes through with a great vehicle. There's our Trumbull 4x4. All right.
Which is especially good for if you're playing on like a Nightmare or Lethal map that has fewer cars, and each car takes a lot of damage from every collision. Getting an extra car is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, especially on Lethal. But the great thing here is that I don't know why I just repaired that gun, but I did. So we'll just live with it. Looks like she gets to use the pistol for a while longer. And then we'll grab some of these. But we've got this AKS 74U, but we don't have any extra ammo for it. So it's gonna be rough. I'm pretty sure I've been to a lot of the ammo places, but now we are at that point in our map when we have to start thinking about where we're gonna go. Now, of course, this is... Let's see, who do we have? What are you? Sheriff? Sheriff. Huh. I wonder if we want a sheriff leader, Geoffrey. I guess it doesn't really matter which one is the sheriff leader at this point.
That's the kind of community that I got when I was trying to go after the warlord boon. It's just everybody wanted to be a sheriff.
Right? There you go. That's always how it goes. So we'll take the sheriff for a spin out here with the Trumbull 4x4. We're gonna need food and we're gonna need gas, and that's kind of the direction that we're headed. Are there more questions, Geoffrey?
Let's see here. So there was one that I'd caught and now I've forgotten where. Oh yeah, so MRD Gaming wanted to follow up on sort of the feedback that we give on the map to tell you, how many plague hearts are near a given site. He mostly just wants to know, well, how does that make any sense? How do you know how many plague hearts are near a given site? So the main issue is that when a particular site, when you have found all the plague hearts, and a particular site is covered by multiple hearts, and you're trying to evaluate whether or not you're going to be able to claim that site, one of the most important, particularly if the boundaries of the plague territories of those individual plague hearts are a little bit unclear and you're not sure which ones are covering that site and which ones aren't, being able to see how many plague hearts are currently influencing a given site is really important to your ability to plan capturing that site. And so thinking purely of the people who already have their map explored, that data is really, really important. And then if you think about just the question of, well, what if you've only discovered half of the plague hearts that are covering a given site? It starts to get really messy, right? Because then if we only report the ones that you found, then we're kind of lying to you about the challenge of what it's going to take to free up that given site. And so what we decided to do was basically have that flyout on the map always be honest with you about how hard it's going to be to get a site. Even if you don't know where the plague hearts are, even if you haven't discovered them yet, the game is being honest with you about the level of challenge. And we figured that was probably sort of the the best trade-off right there to make sure that you understand what's going on and you can plan accordingly, rather than having the game tell you there's only one plague heart guarding the site, and then you get there and actually it's 5 and you're unequipped. We figured that was going to be a frustrating experience.
Well, and one of the things that I really appreciate about this is that that was the reason that I chose that outpost to begin with. I knew that in a lethal game, at least a lethal map, right, that you're going to need those meds first and foremost. And so, I emptied out all of the stuff around me, made sure that I had plenty of backup so that I, just in case things went sideways, I could have something to fall back on. But things did not go sideways. And we were able to find that one plague heart there because I know that meds outpost was upgradable, and it's also relatively difficult to get to, right? But there's not a lot of, I shouldn't say difficult to get to, but there's just not a lot of houses around it, not a lot of places where a plague heart would take over. And so that was one of the things that was in my head as I was thinking about like how to set up for the stream today. And it's about sort of the mastery of the map, like what you know already, especially as you get up into higher difficulties. Standard and dread and wherever you want to play. But once you get into lethal, like that was one of the things that we really hammered into balancing lethal, was that we expected that there would be a mastery of the game systems and so forth. And so I would highly suggest, and that includes things like knowing where to find these happy little things, the weapons caches and so on. And so we wanted to make sure that people brought in their best survivors, that people could find the best weapons, and they knew where to look and search. And I don't know what else to say there.
Well, we did have a question from Big Lou who wanted to know if any new character dialogue was added, is going to be added with this update. So we haven't exactly, announced when the official update is actually going to come, but the question of character dialogue. So I think that we have been recording a little bit of character dialogue for a variety of features, not all of which appear right now in the public test realm. So there's a chance that there might have been 1 or 2 lines added that were actually directly relevant to the Outpost upgrade and Plague territories. I know we discussed a couple of possibilities. I'm not sure if they ended up in the final game. If they did, then I wouldn't be surprised if you hear a new line here or there about specifically Outposts and Plague territories. But it would be a pretty small scale. You're not seeing a bunch of large-scale new dialogue. Unless, this is sometime in the future and we've announced other features we've been working on in the background that have a lot more dialogue associated with them. But we'll just have to save that for some other time.
I got a bottle of decent gin sitting here. And
oh, that sounds good for after the stream. We got about 6 minutes left. So if there's any sort of summaries or big last strategic notes that you want to make, this would probably be a really good time.
All right, that sounds good. So as we get into this part, we've now got enough influence to go and claim a food outpost, and so it just becomes to kind of stress what Geoffrey was talking about earlier, how this becomes more strategic. We need to get out of here so that feral doesn't destroy my happy new car. But then we can no, oh, that's great. Yay! Ow. Loaders are smelly.
I'm still watching you on a delay, so I actually do. Okay, good. You survived. I couldn't tell if you lived or not.
Oh yeah, I would have lived even in lethal. That would have been
Oh, that's right. It's not lethal. I just keep whenever I'm watching you play, I just assume we're in lethal and assume that everything is to be tuned up to 11.
Well, you and I agreed that we didn't want anything untoward happening.
Yeah, when we're focusing on explaining strategy and stuff like that, the last thing we need is to get into the most desperate possible combat situation.
As I try to almost run over another bloater, he says, "Oh yay." Okay, so let's find a nice quiet place. There aren't any, even in Nightmare.
Find a nice rooftop.
But if we can take a look here, I think there's usually a food out. I think that's a food. I don't know. I don't think it's upgradable, but let's take a look. This is a food outpost that I know here. So let's take a look and see if it's got the upgrade icon. And it does. Okay. So this little thing right here is actually a food outpost. I know, it looks like a garage. Don't let it fool you. It's a full-on farm, and this is where everybody comes when they need their hay.
Yeah, a lot of these decisions were, about what counted as what kind of site. Some of them were made without a lot of reference to what outposts they would be. More about how they would appear on the map.
So, I guess in Nightmare it's only +2, but we'll see. So we will be able to upgrade this eventually. Oh no, right now it's +2 food per day. We'll be able to upgrade it to +4 and then +6 because
lethal.
This is based on community, right? I think.
Yeah.
This is based on the community slider, so it will end up being +6 when we finally have got all of that there. Now, if I didn't want to claim this food place, I could have gone down here, which I know this is technically a food outpost, and the ones around it, that's got 3 Plague Hearts claiming it somehow. But there's only 1 Plague Heart claiming Camp Kalinqua. So it may be that this is... that maybe there's one here.
Yeah, there's one that we're missing.
One there at the gas station. So there's a gas station like right here that probably has a Plague Heart. We'll drive down to it just to make sure that I'm right. But that's probably a place where we could easily get more food if we needed it. And then... so we can keep moving and picking apart the map based on Plague Territory, and we can really actually strategize how these outposts go. One more thing that I thought that I had heard, a lot of people are concerned that when they move maps that they're not going to be able to claim bases fast enough. I believe is one of the big
concerns that come up really often
right now.
Yeah.
And if I had focused, if that had been my focus, and I had a bigger community, we probably could have moved down to Camp Kalinqua down here much quicker. And it only would have required us to clear like 1, maybe 2 Plague Hearts. And then you can take a look at these different mid-range, a lot of these different mid-range bases. Like for instance, I was actually thinking of this earlier today. Like if you move to Providence Ridge, you're going to be able to move into the Weston warehouse pretty easily. There's not going to be that many Plague Hearts that are around that place, even though it's kind of far and across the map. But at the same time, like it's going to be pretty easy for you to get there. All right, so let's take a look.
Speaking of time, we are. I think we are just pretty much out of time.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here today. I hope that this kind of illuminated a little bit of what it was that you came here to get, which was a little bit of reassurance that it's not going to overly change to do anything. It's going to give you more power as the player and more choice to sort of play around as you see fit and tackle a map in all sorts of new and interesting ways. All right, so. Without further ado, I want to say thank you to everybody for being here for our strategy stream / bounty stream for the month of May, and encourage you all to go out and get your Trumbull 4x4 today. All right, so without further ado, Geoffrey, would you like to say goodbye to the folks?
Yeah, thank you all for coming here. Your questions were great, all of them very on point. Not all of them, was able to give a very definitive answer to, but if you stay tuned with us, we are going to keep you informed about what else is going on. One thing that we should note, by the way, there is going to be a lot of work coming down the pipe for us to get this update ready to go and into the hands of everyone out there in an entire community. And so that we can focus on getting that work done, we're actually going to be slowing down the rate at which we're streaming. We're not going to be streaming from, me and Joe's, undisclosed locations every single week. Instead, we'll be doing it about every other week. And in the between weeks, we're going to be highlighting streamers from our community. So, for instance, this coming week, it's going to be Geoffrey, in-game GF, who is a favorite streamer of ours. So, if you want to, basically, if you come back to this channel, particularly our Twitch channel at the usual time, you're always going to find somebody interesting to watch, whether it's us or whether it's one of our community members. So do please stick around and come back to us at the same cadence. And we're going to be doing these streams still every other week. And on the off weeks, we're going to be working as hard as we can and getting this update ready to come out to all of you. So with that, goodbye. And thank you for being here.
Thanks, everybody. All right. Oh, whew, awkward sign-off time.
As always, go pick up your Trumbull 4x4 today.
Yeah, don't wait. Go get one. It's all going to be good.